We are the daughters of the night. We move amongst the cushions with the grace of gentle kittens, our bracelets on our elbows. If you attack, we shall embrace you. And if you retreat, we will forsake you. With a loveless separation. 64. That boiled the blood of the retreating Muslims so much that they returned to the battlefield. 66. Phase 3. After managing to stabilize the position on the right flank, Khalid ordered the mobile guard cavalry to provide relief to the battered left flank. Khalid detached one regiment under Derer ibn al-Azwar and ordered him to attack the front of the army of Derjan, left center, to create a diversion and threaten the withdrawal of the Byzantine right wing from its advanced position. With the rest of the cavalry reserve, he attacked Gregory's flank. Here again, under simultaneous attacks from the front and flanks, the Byzantines fell back, but more slowly because they had to maintain their formation. 67. At sunset, the central armies broke contact and withdrew to their original positions, and both fronts were restored along the lines occupied in the morning. The death of Derjan and the failure of Vahan's battle plan left the larger imperial army relatively demoralized, but Khalid's successful counterattacks emboldened his troops despite their being smaller in number. 68. Day 3. Day 3, Phase 1. Showing Byzantine left wing and center, pushing back respective Muslim divisions. Day 3, Phase 1. Day 3, Phase 2. Showing Khalid's attack on flank of Byzantine left center, with his mobile guard. Day 3, Phase 2. On August 17, Vahan pondered over his failures and mistakes of the previous day, where he launched attacks against respective Muslim flanks, but after initial success, his men were pushed back. What bothered him the most was the loss of one of his commanders. Citation needed. The Byzantine army decided on a less ambitious plan, and Vahan now aimed to break the Muslim army at specific points. He decided to press upon the relatively exposed right flank, where his mounted troops could maneuver more freely as compared to the rugged terrain at the Muslims' left flank. The junction was to be between the Muslim right center, its right wing held by Kanadir's Slavs, to break them apart so that they would be fought separately. Citation needed. Phase 1, the battle resumed with Byzantine attacks on the Muslim right flank and right center. 69. After holding off the initial attacks by the Byzantines, the Muslim right wing fell back, followed by the right center. They were again said to have been met by their own women, who abused and shamed them. The corps, however, managed to reorganize some distance from the camp and held their ground preparing for a counterattack. 64. Phase 2, knowing that the Byzantine army was focusing on the Muslim right, Khalid ibn al-Walid launched an attack with his mobile guard, along with the Muslim right flank cavalry. Khalid ibn al-Walid struck at the right flank of the Byzantines' left center, and the cavalry reserve of the Muslims' right center struck at the Byzantines' left center at its left flank. Meanwhile, he ordered the Muslims' right-wing cavalry to strike at the left flank of the Byzantines' left wing. The combat soon developed into a bloodbath. Many fell on both sides. Khalid's timely flanking attacks again saved the day for Muslims, and by dusk, the Byzantines had been pushed back to the positions they had at the start of the battle. Day 4. Day 4 Phase 1, showing Byzantine left center and wing pushing back respective Muslim divisions. Day 4, Phase 1. Day 4 Phase 2, showing Khalid's flanking attack on Byzantine left center with his mobile guard. Day 4, Phase 2. Phase 1, Vahan decided to persist with the previous day's war plan as he had been successful in inflicting damage on the Muslim right. Kanadir led two armies of Slavs against the Muslim right wing and right center with some assistance from the Armenians and Christian Arabs led by Jabalah. The Muslim right wing and right center again fell back. 70. Khalid entered the fray yet again with the mobile guard. He feared a general attack on a broad front, which he would be unable to repulse, and so ordered Abu Ubaidah and Yazid on the left center and the left wings, respectively, to attack the Byzantine armies at the respective fronts. The attack would result in stalling the Byzantine front and prevent a general advance of the imperial army. 71. Phase 2, Khalid divided his mobile guard into two divisions and attacked the flanks of the Byzantine left center, and the infantry of the Muslim right center attacked from the front. Under the three-pronged flanking maneuver, the Byzantines fell back. Meanwhile, the Muslim right wing renewed its offense with its infantry attacking from the front and the cavalry reserve attacking the northern flank of the Byzantine left wing. As the Byzantine left center retreated under three-pronged attacks of Khalid, the Byzantine left wing, having been exposed at its southern flank, also fell back, 70. While Khalid and his mobile guard were dealing with the Armenian front throughout the afternoon, the situation on the other end was worsening, 72. Byzantine horse archers had taken to the field and subjected Abu Ubaidah and Yazid's troops to intense archery, preventing them from penetrating their Byzantine lines. Many Muslim soldiers lost their sight to Byzantine arrows on that day, which thereafter became known as the Day of Lost Eyes. 73. The veteran Abu Sufyan is also believed to have lost an eye that day. 73. The Muslim armies fell back except for one regiment, led by Ikrimah bin Abi Jahal, which was on the left of Abu Ubaidah's corps. Ikrimah covered the retreat of the Muslims with his 400 members of the cavalry by attacking the Byzantine front, and the other armies reorganized themselves to counterattack and regain their lost positions. All of Ikrimah's men were either seriously injured or dead that day. Ikrimah, a childhood friend of Khalid, was mortally wounded and died later in the evening. 72. Day 5. Troop deployment. Day 5. Deployment of troops on the fifth day. Khalid gathered all his cavalry for a decisive flanking charge. During the four-day offensive of Bahan, his troops had failed to achieve any breakthrough and had suffered heavy casualties, especially during the mobile guard's flanking counterattacks. Early on August 19, the fifth day of the battle, Bahan sent an emissary to the Muslim camp for a truce for the next few days so that fresh negotiations could be held. He supposedly wanted time to reorganize his demoralized troops, but Khalid deemed victory to be in reach and he declined the offer. 74. Until now, the Muslim army had adopted a largely defensive strategy, but knowing that the Byzantines were apparently no longer eager for battle, Khalid now decided to take the offensive and reorganized his troops accordingly. All cavalry regiments were grouped together into one powerful mounted force, with the mobile guard acting as its core. The total strength of the cavalry group was now about 8,000 mounted warriors, an effective mounted corps for an offensive attack the next day. The rest of the day passed uneventfully. Khalid planned to trap Byzantine troops, cutting off their every route of escape. There were three natural barriers, the three gorges in the battlefield with their steep ravines, Wadi Rakad at west, Wadi al-Yarmuk in south and Wadi al-Ala in east. The northern route was to be blocked by Muslim cavalry. 75. There were, however, some passages across the 200 meters, 660 feet, deep ravines of Wadi Rakad in west. Strategically, the most important one was at Ain al-Dakar, a bridge. Khalid sent Darar with 500 cavalry at night to secure that bridge. Darar moved around the northern flank of Byzantines and captured the bridge, a maneuver that was to prove decisive the next day. Day 6. Day 6 Phase 1, showing Khalid's flanking maneuver at Byzantine left flank routing Byzantine left wing and its cavalry units. Day 6, Phase 1. Day 6 Phase 2, showing Khalid's two-prong attack on Byzantine cavalry, and Muslim right-wing flanking attack on Byzantine left center. Day 6, Phase 2. Day 6 Phase 3, showing Khalid's cavalry routed Byzantine cavalry off the field and attacking Byzantine left center at its rear. Day 6, Phase 3. Day 6 Last phase, showing general retreat of Byzantine army towards Wadi Rakad. Day 6, the fourth and last phase. On 20 August, 77, Khalid put into action a simple, but bold plan of attack. With his massed cavalry force, he intended to drive the Byzantine cavalry entirely off the battlefield so that the infantry, which formed the bulk of the imperial army, would be left without cavalry support and thus would be exposed when attacked from the flanks and rear. At the same time, he planned to push a determined attack to turn the left flank of the Byzantine army and drive them towards the ravine to the west. 76. Phase 1, Khalid ordered a general attack on the Byzantine front and galloped his cavalry around the left wing of the Byzantines. Part of his cavalry engaged the Byzantine left-wing cavalry while the rest of it attacked the rear of the Byzantine left-wing infantry. Meanwhile, the Muslim right wing pressed against it from the front. Under the two-pronged attack, the Byzantine left wing fell back and collapsed and fell back to the Byzantine left center, greatly disordering it. 74. The remaining Muslim cavalry then attacked the Byzantine left wing cavalry at the rear while they were held frontally by the other half of the Muslim cavalry, routing them off the battlefield to the north. The Muslim right-wing infantry now attacked the Byzantine left center at its left flank, while the Muslim right center attacked from front. Phase 2, Bahan, noticing the huge cavalry maneuver of the Muslims, ordered his cavalry to group together, but was not quick enough. Before Bahan could organize his disparate heavy cavalry squadrons, Khalid had wheeled his cavalry back to attack the concentrating Byzantine cavalry squadrons, falling upon them from the front and the flank while they were still moving into formation. The disorganized and disoriented Byzantine heavy cavalry was soon routed and dispersed to the north, leaving the infantry to its fate. 78. Phase 3, with the Byzantine cavalry completely routed, Khalid turned to the Byzantine left center, which already held the two-pronged attack of the Muslim infantry. The Byzantine left center was attacked at its rear by Khalid's cavalry, and was finally broken. 78. Phase 4, with the retreat of the Byzantine left center, a general Byzantine retreat started. Khalid took his cavalry north, to block the northern route of escape. The Byzantines retreated west towards Wadi Rakad, where there was a bridge at Ain al-Dakar for safe crossing across the deep gorges of the ravines of Wadi Rakad. 72. Derer had already captured the bridge as part of Khalid's plan the night before. A unit of 500 mounted troops had been sent to block the passageway. In fact, that was the route by which Khalid wanted the Byzantines to retreat all along. The Byzantines were surrounded from all sides now. 74. K. Some fell into the deep ravines off the steep slopes, others tried to escape in the waters, but were smashed on the rocks below, and still others were killed in their flight. Nevertheless, many of the soldiers managed to escape the slaughter. 79. Jonah, the Greek informant of the Rashidun army during the conquest of Damascus, died in the battle. The Muslims took no prisoners in the battle, but they may have captured some during the subsequent pursuit. 80. Theodore Trytherius was killed on the battlefield. 81. And Nicetas managed to escape and reach Emesa. Jabullah ibn Alayham also managed to escape and later briefly came to terms with the Muslims, but he soon defected to the Byzantine court again. Aftermath. Immediately after the operation was over, Khalid and his mobile guard moved north to pursue the retreating Byzantine soldiers and found them near Damascus and attacked. Bahan, who had escaped the fate of most of his men at Yarmuk, was probably killed in the ensuing fighting. 83. Khalid then entered Damascus, where he was welcomed by the local residents, thus recapturing the city. 30. 84. When news of the disaster reached Heraclius at Antioch, 85, the emperor was devastated and enraged. He blamed his wrongdoings for the loss, primarily referring to his incestuous marriage to his niece Martina. 86. He would have tried to reconquer the province if he had the resources. 85. But now had neither the men nor the money to defend the province anymore. Instead, he retreated to the Cathedral of Antioch, where he observed a solemn service of intercession. 85. He summoned a meeting of his advisors at the cathedral and scrutinized the situation. He was told almost unanimously and accepted the fact that the defeat was God's decision and a result of the sins of the people of the land, including him. 87. Heraclius took to the sea on a ship to Constantinople in the night. His ship supposedly set sail, and he bade a last farewell to Syria. Farewell, a long farewell to Syria, my fair province. Thou art an infidel's enemies, now. Peace be with you, O Syria, what a beautiful land you will be for the enemy's hands. 85. 87. Heraclius abandoned Syria with the holy relic of the true cross, which was, along with other relics held at Jerusalem, secretly boarded on ship by Sophronius, Patriarch of Jerusalem. 85. Just to protect it from the invading Arabs. It is said that he had a fear of water. 88. And a pontoon bridge was made for Heraclius to cross the Bosphorus to Constantinople. After abandoning Syria, he began to concentrate on his remaining forces for the defense of Anatolia and Egypt instead. Byzantine Armenia fell to the Muslims in 638–39, and Heraclius created a buffer zone in central Anatolia by ordering all the forts east of Tarsus to be evacuated. 89. In 639–642, the Muslims, led by Amr ibn al-Ayaz, who had commanded the right flank of the Rashidun army at Yarmuk, invaded and captured Byzantine Egypt. 90. Evaluation. The imperial Byzantine commanders allowed their enemy to have the battlefield of his choosing. Even then, they were at no substantial tactical disadvantage. 48. Khalid knew all along that he was up against a force superior in numbers and, until the last day of the battle, conducted an essentially defensive campaign, suited to his relatively limited resources. When he decided to take the offensive and attack on the final day of battle, he did so with a degree of imagination, foresight and courage that none of the Byzantine commanders managed to display. Although he commanded a smaller force and needed all the men he could muster, he had the competence and foresight to dispatch a cavalry regiment the night before his assault to seal off a critical path of the retreat that he had anticipated for the enemy army. 76. Because of his leadership at Yarmuk, Khalid ibn al-Walid is considered one of the finest generals in history. 6. And his use of mounted warriors throughout the battle showed just how well he understood the potential strengths and weaknesses of his mounted troops. His mobile guard moved quickly from one point to another, always changed the course of events wherever they appeared, and, then just as quickly, galloped away to change the course of events elsewhere on the field. 91. Vahan and his Byzantine commanders did not manage to deal with the mounted force and use the sizable advantage of their army effectively. 92. Their own Byzantine cavalry never played a significant role in the battle and were held in static reserve for most of the 6 days. 59. They never pushed their attacks, and even when they obtained what could have been a decisive breakthrough on the 4th day, they were unable to exploit it. There appeared to be a decided lack of resolve among the imperial commanders, but that may have been caused by difficulties commanding the army because of internal conflict. Moreover, many of the Arab auxiliaries were mere levies, but the Muslim Arab army consisted for a much larger part of veteran troops. The original strategy of Heraclius, to destroy the Muslim troops in Syria, needed a rapid and quick deployment, but the commanders on the ground never displayed those qualities. Ironically, on the field at Yarmuk, Khalid carried out, on a small tactical scale, what Heraclius had planned on a grand strategic scale. By rapidly deploying and maneuvering his forces, Khalid was able to concentrate sufficient forces at specific locations on the field temporarily to defeat the larger Byzantine army in detail. Vahan was never able to make his numerical superiority count, perhaps because of the terrain, which prevented large-scale deployment. Citation needed. However, Vahan never attempted to concentrate a superior force to achieve a critical breakthrough. 94. Although he was on the offensive 5 out of the 6 days, his battle line remained remarkably static. That stands in stark contrast to the very successful offensive plan, which Khalid carried out on the final day by reorganizing virtually all his cavalry and committing it to a grand maneuver, which won the battle. 91. George F. Nafziger, in his book Islam at War, described the battle. Although Yarmuk is little known today, it is one of the most decisive battles in human history. Had Heraclius' forces prevailed, the modern world would be so changed as to be unrecognizable.